Hi everyone, it's Lucy from My Crazy Craft Life, and today I'm here with this fun arrow card. It's an arrow fun fold card for scrapping for less, and I'm going to be using the Cool Treats paper. They have a bunch of new paper pads over at Scrapping for Less, and you can go and check them out, and this is one of them. Like I said, it's called Cool Treats. Those are all the images. And I did do some coloring, which I'm not going to leave in here because I just colored the image of the flamingo from the Flavor of the Month kit and the flowers, and I really didn't do a lot to them. But those are the colors that I used for the little bit that I did do, so you can see that. Now, the one thing I did do was after I cut these all out, I did take my black marker and just edge them all over. All around each image, just to kind of finish them off, and since I hand cut them. Now this is going to be an A2 size card, so you're going to start off with your regular card base. So 5.5 by 4.25. And I originally was going to use a different paper, and then it ended up being too short, so I had to get this paper, which then I ended up changing my mind completely on what I was going to do. But we're going to start out, now I'm using a zero centering ruler, but I'm going to tell you the number that you want to. It's going to be in half, and you're just going to put a dot in the half along the bottom, and that's going to be at 2 3/4 inches, and then a dot in the half of each 4.25. So because it's 4.25, it's going to be 2 1/8 on each side, and that's going to be where some of your score lines are, so that's why you're doing it. And there's only 4 score lines in this, and then you're done with the scoring part. And you're going to be making your score lines going diagonally from kind of corner to corner. So you see there to there, and then there to there with that halfway mark, and it's all going to go in the halfway. Now when I do this scoring, I put my bone folder or my scoring tool in a number, and then I make sure that I line up the corner to that number, and then I line up the bottom, because those lines can get kind of weavy in there, and so I want to make sure that those lines are straight. Now the next way you're going to do the same thing. I put it in at 3. This is a 6 or about a 5.5 inch scoreboard, and I put it in at 3 and go down, make sure it all lines up. The top is at 3 and the bottom is at 3, and then I do the same thing for the other side. And you're going to go from the halfway mark to the halfway mark, and that's going to be your second set of score lines. So you can kind of see just those 4 score lines. Then I'm going to take an eraser and just erase some of the marks on there. And then when you fold them, you're going to start off with a mountain fold, and then you're going to do the other ones, the second ones, in a valley fold. So that's the first fold. That's the second fold, and those are mountains, and now these are valley folds. And then once I kind of fold them myself with my fingers, I'll then go back and use the bone folder and flatten it all out really well. And that's going to create your arrow. So super simple, super fun, and I think it really is a great piece to highlight your pattern papers and stuff if you have pattern papers that you really want to use. And I thought this would be perfect for the Cool Treats paper, so you can really see that. And I had a few ideas when I first started doing this that kind of changed along the way. Now I'm going to adhere down the sides of this so that it lays better flat, and you're not going to be doing anything with them anyway, so it's certainly not going to hurt anything. I'm going to put glue all along that edge of the larger flap or the mountain fold flap, and then just kind of hold that down for a little bit to make sure that it stays, and then do the same thing on the other side. And again, that's just going to help it to lay flatter once you get your card completed. Now to cut the pieces for the layering, on the inside I used 2 pieces, and those are 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and then 5 inches by 3 3/4, and that's going to go on the inside. Now the outside with the triangle, you're going to flip over your piece, and it's the same size as the other 2, and then you're going to mark it at the halfway point. And the halfway point for the 5 1/4 by 4 inches is 2 5/8. And the halfway point for the other one is 2 1/2. And then for these, you're going to go from the top to that halfway mark. So kind of what I showed you there, from the top to the halfway mark. And you're going to do the same thing with the other one, and see it's going to fit perfectly within that triangle and give you that border. And then the next one. Now, one thing I will say when you're cutting like this at a diagonal is to make sure, if you're using a cutting tool like mine, to make sure that you put the cutting part, the blade, in the center of the paper so that you can move it back and forth easily and not bunch up your paper as you're trying to cut it through. Then you're just going to layer that up there. Now this is where I changed my mind. I decided I wanted to use some more of the images with the cool treats on there, so I just cut another one of the 5 inches by 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. Did I say hold that whole thing? And then you're just going to layer that up there. Now, I also cut a triangle a little, just 1/8 of an inch down, so I cut it at 5 5/8 by, or not 5/8, I'm sorry, 3/8 by like 4 1/8 to put on there, because I didn't like the way that it looked when it was folded and I wanted to hide that. Plus, I was going to put one on the inside so that I had some place to write on, but then I decided not to, and just I could write on that white portion on the top, and I was going to put my embellishments kind of on the inside there. So like I said, I had one idea and I would have liked it better if I would have been able to use my other cardstock, but then that cardstock was actually a 1/4 of an inch too short, which I don't know how it became a 1/4 of an inch too short. Apparently I did something to it, but it was. And so I ended up having to go back. Now these cardstocks are also available over at Scrapping for Less, so you can check those out. And I just used the happy birthday stamp in there, and like I said, I decided to put that in there. Now what I was doing here is I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be able to see that when the card was closed. So I just put a couple little marks there so that I knew once I put the glue there where I was going to put that. I glued down my little flamingo guy to kind of give him something to stand on that sentiment, and then popped in a couple of the flowers. I wanted to kind of put one in his hair because on some of the ephemera that came with this kit, there was one that had it in his hair, but those were kind of large. But you can see once I get all of these in here that you can't see them when the card is closed, and that's what I was looking for. So I just made sure kind of everything fit within there. And that is it. Pretty simple card. Pretty easy to do those folds. You do want to make sure that it's pretty accurate because you want that point on the end of it. But that's it. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope everybody takes care and is staying safe. Have a great day, and stick around and watch a couple other videos here. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.